everyone. Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I am Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And today we are back at school. It's the new year. Well, we're getting to the new year. It's good to talk about this stuff before school starts, so you might be prepared, especially if you're doing something exciting like going to study abroad, going to school in another country. Well, yesterday we were kind of at day one, right? We had Christina and Tiffany, two new students who were meeting each other, and they would be sharing the same dorm room for at least a school year or so. So that's something you have to do, get settled in, find out where to do the laundry and, things like that. The next thing to take care of is the studying that you will do, right? Of course, when you go to university, you can pick any class that you want. There might be certain classes you should take, but then there will be a lot of freedom. So that's what we're going to be talking about here, class schedules.
Yes, and this is a big deal when you're in school because, like you said, yes, technically you could take any class you wanted, but college is a little bit expensive, and to actually graduate with a certain degree, you have to have taken certain classes.
Right.
So if you spend every year or every semester taking all the classes you want to take, but maybe not the classes you need to take, you might be in college for a very long time.
That is true.
Because again, you cannot get your degree until you have completed certain required classes. And so that's why a lot of people will kind of really agonize or really think very hard about their class schedule, and they will try to get the good classes, and they will usually try to not get the 8 a.m. morning classes because you want to try to sleep a little bit longer. And so class schedule really comes down to being an important part of college, and for most people it's a little bit stressful.
That's right. You might do this twice in one school year, maybe in the fall and then after the winter holiday. And yes, if you get a bad schedule, you have to be up early in the morning, or you can't find the class that you want at a certain time, it can just make your year or your semester, your life at that time, a little inconvenient and difficult and whatnot. Often they'll have the same class, but if it's at the same time that you have another class you want, now you have to make tough decisions and tough choices. So you need a little bit of luck, but also planning. If you can plan your ideas out before, you'll find this a lot easier to do. So let's find out what's going on as we get to making our class schedule. Ethan and Lewis are going over their class schedules.
Hey, we have many of the same classes.
Yes, but they're at different times and with different professors.
What's this English bridge course? I didn't see it when I was registering for classes.
All right, so we're still looking at studying abroad, getting used to life at school. This is true for many universities, even here in Taiwan, right? So it's not just when you go abroad, but when you are in another country, language and, being kind of lonely, not having friends, those will make things a little more challenging. But dorms, class schedules, this is pretty normal for university everywhere. So let's find out what's going on with the class schedule. If you're in England, you might hear people say it more with a soft schedule, right? But basically, it's your timetable. It's the list of times and activities when you should be somewhere and what you will be doing at those times.
Yes, and so for the dorms, we had Christina and Tiffany, but now we have two new characters.
Okay.
So we have Ethan and Lewis.
Hi, Ethan.
are going over their class schedule. So it means they're talking together and they're going through their different classes. What classes do you have? What classes do you have?
Okay,
do
so
we have any of them?
They've made the schedules already.
Yes.
They've already chosen the classes. Okay, good. Ethan says, hey, we have many of the same classes. Sure, if you're studying the same thing, like if you and your friend are both in business or you're both studying art history, yes, you may have many of the same classes. A lot of those classes you must take as Sam said, to graduate in 4 years with your special certificate or degree. They call these requirements or core classes, right?
Yes, and some of those classes are really gigantic because all the freshmen have to take it.
Hundreds of
Yes,
students.
one of my lecture classes was 700 kids in one class. Yes.
Wow. Did the professor know you?
No. Then you'd have smaller classes throughout the week where you could kind of talk with a TA, a teacher's assistant, and get to know the material a little bit better. But there was a lecture class, and that one was massive.
You'll definitely recognize people in different classes.
Yes,
then.
yes. And so then Lewis says, yes, we do have some of the same classes, but they're at different times and with different professors, which again is very common because there are so many people who need to take these same classes that there are going to be other professors teaching them, or even just the same professor but teaching at different times.
Okay, it's kind of like with a movie theater. Yes. They don't show the movie at one time on one day. They show it at different times because everyone has a different schedule.
Yes, and so then we had this word professor, and professor is just the teacher who teaches at college. So they are usually more qualified than maybe a teacher in high school or middle school or grade school because they have more requirements. The colleges usually require a higher level of understanding of the material because, again, you're teaching material that is much more complicated than you might see in high school, middle school, or grade school. So professors are the teachers at colleges and universities, and they are usually very, very knowledgeable about their one subject. They don't usually teach a whole bunch of different classes, but they might teach a couple classes within business or a couple classes within science, something like that.
All right, they're often doctors or PhDs. They're really experts in what they're teaching because, of course, their students are much older and need to know the best stuff. But anyways, as they're looking at their schedules, Ethan notices something a little different between his and Lewis's schedules. So he says, what's this English Bridge course? And I think English Bridge would be a basic class, but Ethan's not taking this one. So he's like, hey, what's up with that, Lewis? I didn't see it when I was registering for classes. So maybe on the computer with the list of all the classes he could take, they had Shakespeare, they had French writing, whatever it was, he didn't see English when he was registering. And yes, this is after they have registered. That's why they have their final schedule. When you register for something, with school, you could be choosing your classes, but with anything, you're basically joining into some organized thing. You're going to give them your name, your age, your ID number. You usually write it down or put it into a program or a website on the computer.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字跟文法重点。首先来看看单字的部分。第一个 professor 名词教授。The professor gave an interesting speech. 那位教授发表了一场有趣的演讲。下一个单字 register 动词登记注册。Roy registered for an event online. Roy 在线上注册参加了一个活动。我们再来看看文法的部分。老师刚刚提到了 go over 仔细检查。我们来看看这个例句。Sarah went over the report before sending it. Sarah 在寄出报告之前仔细检查了一遍。我们接着回到课文当中。
If you want to join a club, if you want to start to go to a certain gym, you will register, give them your ID, pay your money. Now you have officially joined. You might get a piece of paper or a card with your name on it or something like that. They know who you are because your name is in their organized system, so you should be ready to go and use that or do that after you register. All right, let's pause here.
That's the school's language program. I didn't meet the English language requirements, so I need to bring my English level up.
Your English seems pretty good to me.
Thanks, but I'm not skillful enough in grammar and writing.
You'll need those skills for all the papers you'll have to write.
Yeah, tell me about it.
All right, so we are back and we're comparing class schedules. Ethan and Lewis are looking at the classes they do have together, but Ethan noticed that Lewis has a different class to him that Ethan didn't even see to choose.
Yes, and so then Lewis says, that's the school's language program. And then he says, I didn't meet the English language requirements, so I need to bring my English level up. So again, if you remember, this is all about studying abroad. So these people, both Ethan and Lewis, are most likely from a different country coming to the US, and well, we're assuming the US, a college or a university there. And to do that, they have to check their English level because all of the courses will be taught in English. So if Lewis didn't quite make it all the way to the top of where he should be, he might be taking an English program at the same time to kind of bump up his English and so that he doesn't fall behind in his classes.
Okay, all right, so maybe his TOEIC or his TOEFL scores aren't quite high enough. He needs to bring those up a little bit to meet the requirements of the school.
Yes, and so when we're using this kind of meet a requirement, this is not like the meet, hello, hi, nice to meet you, not that kind of meet. It means you have to be at that level. If you're meeting a requirement or meeting a standard or meeting something like that, you are at the same level. You have done enough work to match whatever that level might be. So if you didn't quite meet the English level or you didn't quite meet the reading level, you might need to try again and work on it a little bit more so that next time you can meet that score or that requirement or that standard and you can match it, and then everything will be okay.
Okay, so that's acceptable. That's what we need. If you want to be a soldier, a police officer, you might have to meet a certain height, right? If you're too short or maybe even too tall, that's no good. Or if someone gives you a solution that works, you say, oh, that's great. That meets my needs. That's what I need, and it reaches that level. And often with meet, we do often use this noun requirement because that is what is required, what is needed, what is necessary. You know, in many countries, one of the requirements of driving without getting in trouble is you have to be over 16 or 18 years old and you have to pass a driving test. Once you have that driver's license, that card, that is one of the requirements for driving. You also need to be able to see quite well and, you know, some other things. So the things that you need are your requirements. And yes, many of these schools, as you mentioned, do have, you know, TOEFL or TOEIC or GEPT scores. And once you reach that level in a test, then you can study whatever you want. If you're kind of below that level, the school might say, okay, you can come here, but one of the first things you must do is improve your English because, you know, in a history class or a business class, there's a lot of difficult words and you also have to do a lot of writing in university. So that's another reason to spend more time with us here at ABC Interactive English. If you keep studying with us, you will hopefully meet those requirements long before you ever go off to school, so you won't have to do one of these classes. Wouldn't that be nice?
刚刚对话有提到这两个单字，第一个 meet 动词达到符合，它的三态是 meet met met。The food doesn't meet their taste， 这食物不符合他们的口味。下一个单字 requirement 名词要求规定。The job has a few requirements like experience and skills。这份工作有一些要求，例如经验和技能。刚刚老师也提到了这一个短语 bring up 提升能力程度等等。bring 在这里指的是增进改善。我们来看看这个例句。The coach helped bring up my skills in tennis. 教练帮助我提升了网球技巧。那我们接着回到课文当中。
All right, back to our dialogue. So Ethan's listening to Lewis explain why he needed to take this extra English bridge course to meet the requirements of English from the school. But for Ethan, this is kind of surprising. He says, your English seems pretty good to me. I mean, I understand you. You're speaking naturally. You're using normal words. It's not like, hello, me, Lewis. No, it's not basic English. So why does your English need to get better?
Yes, and so then Lewis says, thanks, but I'm not skillful enough in grammar and writing. And that's usually the groups of, English that kind of lag behind. Usually you can kind of talk and listen okay, or even read it might be okay. But when you're actually writing yourself, you might not be so skillful. So we have this adjective, skillful just means full of skill. So if you are skilled at something, you are good at it, you've practiced it, you're talented in it, and so you can kind of do whatever that thing might be. If you are skilled at playing basketball, then that means that you are very good at basketball. If you're skilled at English, then you have studied well and you've worked on your English. And this skillful is just another way to say that and use the adjective form to be full of skill.
All right. So yes, you definitely need to be skillful with English at the university level because a lot of it can be complicated. And as Ethan says, and he is 100% correct, you'll need those skills for all the papers you'll have to write. Yes, absolutely. That's just one of the examples, but a big one, because depending on what you study, you might have to write many papers while you're in university. Now, we're not talking about the material that books and newspapers and magazines are made of. That is, of course, paper. When we have pens and pencils, we can write or draw on paper. No, here we're talking about written homework for school. Generally, you'll start to do papers in high school, and then in university, you'll do a lot of papers depending on what you study. And this could be a short paper. Your professor might say, I'd like you to write a short paper this weekend, 3 to 5 pages about, and they'll give you a topic. So you have to study it, learn about it, and then explain it or write about it. Or it could be the term paper, which is one bit of homework that might take you a whole year or a whole semester of school. It could be hundreds of pages. It could take hundreds of hours to do, and it will all be you writing it out. So of course, your English skill will be necessary. And of course, sometimes we also do reports where we have to speak our homework like a speech. Again, English skill is very important. So as we get back to it, Lewis says, yeah, tell me about it.
He knows. Yes, and so this tell me about it is not literally saying, please tell me more. This is a kind of a little bit of a sarcastic way to say, I know, like, tell me about it. Means I already know. So that is a way of saying, I know whatever you are talking about. You actually don't need to tell me about it because I already know.
I fully understand what you are explaining.
刚刚课文有提到这2个单字，第一个 skillful 形容词，熟练的。Jason created the sculpture in a skillful way. Jason 以熟练的方式创作了这座雕塑。Sculpture 指的就是雕塑。下一个单字 paper 名词，报告。Nina handed in her paper to the professor. Nina 把报告交给了教授。Hand in 就是缴交。刚刚老师呢也提到了这个短语 Tell me about it. 确实是如此，用来表示认同或者是附和。我们来看看这个对话 It's so delicious. 这太好吃了。Tell me about it. I want to have more. 可不是吗？我想再多吃一点。以上是今天的讲解，同学们要记得复习哦。
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to have more tomorrow, so don't go too far and keep on studying that English. You don't want to take a bridge course. You want to take something fun, right? So come back and join us tomorrow. Until then, all the best and bye-bye. Ethan and Lewis are going over their class schedules.
Hey, we have many of the same classes.
Yes, but they're at different times and with different professors.
What's this English bridge course? I didn't see it when I was registering for classes.
That's the school's language program. I didn't meet the English language requirements, so I need to bring my English level up.
Your English seems pretty good to me.
Thanks, but I'm not skillful enough in grammar and writing.
You'll need those skills for all the papers you'll have to write.
Yeah, tell me about it.
"我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 ，professor 名词教授 ，meet 动词达到符合 ，skillful 形容词熟练的 ，paper 名词报告 ，requirement 名词要求规定 ，register 动词登记注册。接着我们来看文法的部分 ，go over 仔细检查。We went over our travel plans before we booked the flight. 我们仔细看了旅游规划之后才订机票。Bring up 提升能力程度等等。If you don't bring up your grades, you might not get into a good school. 你如果不把分数拉高，或许就进不了好学校。Tell me about it. 确实是如此。It's so cold today. 今天好冷。Tell me about it. I can't feel my fingers. 可不是吗？我的手指都没感觉了。好啦，以上是今天的重点单词跟文法，那我们下一次再见喽，拜拜。
Hey, 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 it's KiWi on the street.
I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie.
And today we're playing at the playground.
Not sure what to call those things you're playing on?
Don't worry, we gotcha.
Ever wonder why they're called the monkey bars? Well, it's because you end up looking like a monkey when you go on them.
Whee!
Kiki!
I haven't done this since I was
Be careful!
a kid.
Be careful!
I'm okay.
Get up!
Hey, you're
911!
no.
Huh?
I never really got the point of seesaws.
Yeah, let's go.
You know what, Winnie? I think after such an exciting day at the playground, especially since we're so old now, I just like chilling on the swing set.
First of all, I'm not that old, you're old. And second of all, I will say I agree, it is nice to just chill and not do anything, you know?
I bet I can go higher than you.
What? No. Whee! I'm going higher.
Aren't you afraid of heights?
No. As long as I can go higher than you. Whee! Uh-oh. How do I stop? How do I stop? Okay, don't forget to follow us on our Instagram. And remember, if you want to learn how to say something in English, you can DM us or email us. Winnie, anything else?
Kiwi later!